I know for a fact that I'm getting a lot of comments asking for a lure bag explanation, or what's in my lure bag is basically what people want to see. And I want to make that video. 100% I want to make that video. This video has been shot over and over again trying to do that. What I have come to realize is that this needs to be multiple videos. The reason is that I like to use different lures for different applications, right? I view it the same way as a fishing rod. So I'm not going to use a tuna rod when I'm albie fishing, right? I'm not going to use a canal rod when I'm sea bass fishing. It's the same thing. My bag is constantly changing, and what I'm bringing out is constantly changing. So what I think is a good idea is to like explain out in this video like my system and my process of how I set up my tackle for the day or for the fishing adventure that I'm going on that day. So this video today is going to be based on what goes into my process, right? And my system, because I have a very specific system for how I do things. So the first thing is that I always take a couple things out, and there's some things that I swap in and out. So basically I have one giant box of lures, right? That I'm constantly pulling in and out of, right? Because the reality of it is I just have too many. You're gonna get to a point where you're just gonna have too many lures. You can't bring them all every single time that you go. So you have to be a little bit selective of what you're gonna bring, and that's based off of application. That's how are you gonna fish? Are you gonna jig fish that day? Are you going to hit the top water? Are you going to be going where there's a lot of current? Are you gonna be going where there's no current, right? So like, it's always changing. I do not always fish a darter. A darter is a very specific, in my opinion, it's a very specific lure for a very specific set of conditions, circumstances, and really current situations. So I don't need to bring a darter every single time I go out. So there are other lures that I bring every single time I go out, right? So what I'm doing is I'm like picking and choosing, right, at the car what's going into my bag. So there's really three things that are always coming with me for the most part whenever I go out fishing. It is my rod, my belt, and my bag. Those three things are like, I'm always bringing those. So then it's just what's going into my bag and what's going onto my belt that I'm constantly changing. Right? I don't bring a BOGA when I'm albie fishing. It just doesn't, it's not needed. Right? But if I'm going for big striped bass, I'm bringing my BOGA. So I always have a belt, a bag, and a rod, right? So I will always set up my lure bag. This one is honestly a piece of shit. I've beaten the living hell out of it. I don't recommend this bag. It's a good starter bag. It's the Supreme bag. It's a good starter bag. I really like the Flatlander bags. They're really nice. I just haven't bought one yet. They're really, really nice bags. But this is like my primary bag, right? And like what I'm keeping on me to carry all of my bigger lures, right? So this is filled with all kinds of lures. Couple things that I always have in here. I will always have a Ziploc bag of leaders pre-tied. I will then always bring out a full spool of fluorocarbon or leader material based off of what fish I'm going for. So if I'm in the canal, it might be 40 or 50 pound leader material with a bunch of pre-tied leaders. I've always got extra quick clips and always have extra swivels. That's all in one like Ziploc bag. But I'll bring, a thing of leader material, and then I don't have them right now because I was tying them, but I have a whole bunch of pre-tied leaders in a Ziploc bag, and then I'll always have extra quick clips and extra swivels. Always, because that's like my main terminal tackle when I'm surf fishing. Usually it's just quick clips, swivels, and leaders. So I have extras of all those and a bunch pre-tied. From there, you know how I feel about this. I always have my file. I have multiple files, just in case. So I've got a couple files in here. I've got extra pliers I do have pliers on my belt, and I'll get to that, but I do have extra pliers just in case. Split ring pliers I always carry just in case. And then I don't have it right now because I use it during hunting season, but bug spray. I always carry bug spray on me. Maybe a set of Band-Aids, something like that. Tape for my finger. If I'm going to be throwing, you know, heavy lures with braid, I'll bring tape on my finger. That stuff's always in my bag. Always. From there, what's going in these slots is what's constantly changing, right? Based off of where I'm fishing and what I'm fishing for, because you only have so much space in here. So like, I have no reason to bring a darter, right? Unless I'm fishing a darter specific area. However, I will always cover 3 things and always have 3 things on hand at all times. Top water, subsurface or slow sinking, somewhere that's gonna fit the middle water column, and then bottom, right? Jigs, heavy stuff. I always, no matter where I'm going, even if it's just gonna be a top water day, and that's all I'm gonna be doing. I know that's all I'm gonna be doing. I will always carry jigs or bucktails, something to hit the bottom, something slow sinking or something that will swim in the middle of the water column, and then something that will then be at the surface level. So some kind of a popper, a pencil popper, right? Always an SP minnow, something like that that's gonna get below the surface level, and then bucktails. From there, it's just I'm changing my colors and sizes again based off of where I'm fishing. So sometimes I might be throwing a large SP minnow, right, if I'm at the canal, and other days if I'm just fishing off the jetty, I might fish the smaller one. I always carry white or bone, always. I almost always have a white or a bone. I haven't changed any of my hooks yet, so bear with me. But I will always carry a bone SP minnow, always. That's just my color. A white SP minnow. You could carry a mackerel SP minnow. It's gonna then be specific on where I'm at. But like for overall, always, you'll always catch me with a bone SP minnow in my bag, always. You'll always catch me with some kind of a white surface plug, always. You'll always catch me with some kind of a jig, right? Whether it's a Savage, I do have a bunch of bucktails on my bag, but you'll always catch me with white or bone. I love bone, but you'll always catch me with white or bone, always. And then from there, sometimes it will change, right? Like if it's overcast or if it's bright and sunny, I might change. If I'm fishing at night, my colors will change. But I'll still always have surface, subsurface, bottom, always. So that's what's in my bag and kind of how my lures are gonna change. But those three categories will always be there. Because if all of a sudden I get out there, sometimes I'm walking a mile or 2 out there. And if I get out all the way out there and they're not hitting, you know, surface, I'm gonna start to run through my bag a little bit and try to figure out where they are. You know, all of a sudden if they start hitting subsurface, right, or they're hitting, you know, 10 feet down, right, like now I need to have that on hand. So then it's like my color and my sizes will begin. Now I know like where in the water column I'm fishing. Then it's like what kind of profile and what color are they liking. And that's where it's like I'm gonna start to run through my bag a little bit and have multiple lures for each one. But a lot of it is determined at the car, you know, and that's kind of the game that we play of like, what am I going to bring and what do I hope I have when I get out there and what do I hope they're feeding on, right? It's horrible when you get out there and you're like, man, I wish I brought that lure, you know, and you got to run back to go get it. You know, it kind of, that sucks. So you always want to kind of prepare for what you're going to see when you get out there and hope that you're going to guess right. So like, let's say I know they're going to hit top water. It's like, okay, I'm going to bring top water popper. I'm going to bring a pencil popper. I'm going to bring a big one, a small one, a medium one. I'm going to bring a white. I'm going to bring a mackerel, and I'm going to bring a yellow. And it's like, I hope that then you get out there and it's like bucktail day. You know what I mean? They're all on the bottom. It's like, great, you know, but that's kind of how I like to run it, is like sizes and colors will change based off what I think they're going to hit. And then just as a backup, I've got other stuff and a few sizes and colors for, you know, subsurface and lower in the water column. But that's kind of how I generally set up my bag when I'm at the car. So I'm bringing like a plethora of different lures to hopefully choose what, or hopefully pick what they're going to be hitting on that specific day. So from there, what I want to do is, again, in future videos, I will set up like, this is going to be my canal bag, and what I'm going to bring for fishing bridge to bridge. I'm fishing these lures at the canal. This is what's going in my bag. But overall, I feel like I should just give you kind of like a base of like how I think about things. You know, even if I go to the canal, it's like I'm going to bring these lures, this color, this area, and this area in the water column. It also then changes again based off of what tackle I'm bringing, because I'm not going to bring every single rod. I mean, sometimes in the canal you can load up a bike and, you know, bring a bunch of different rods, but it's more specific. Like this day I'm going to jig, so I'm bringing a fast reel, a heavy rod, and I'm bringing a bunch of jigs. So other days it's like I'm going to be throwing pencil popper only. I'm bringing a lighter rod, one with a lot of action, and you know, I can get away with a van stall, and that's what I'm bringing. So I don't need to bring 2 rods. If I'm like hunting at night, I'm bringing 1 rod. I'm not bringing multiple rods. I'm bringing 1 rod. And for that reason, I'm going to set my bag up the same exact way to just only throw those kind of plugs that rod and that reel can handle. So I'm going to get into future, you know what I mean? In the future, I'm going to get into like what I'm using for specific areas. But generally, I hope I explained that okay. Generally, there's a few things in the bag I'm always bringing: leaders, files, extra pliers, band-aids, bug spray, leader material, tackle, terminal tackle, swivels, and maybe some extra hooks and quick clips. That's like always in my bag no matter what. Then at the car, I'm choosing and changing my lure selection based off of what I'm going for. I know that was a lot, but that's basically how I'm gonna set my bag up. How I'm setting, you know, my over-the-shoulder purse bag up. That's what's going into this. From there, second item, besides the rod, so the rod, let's say the third and last item that I'm always bringing is my belt. So I will always bring a belt. This is a Mac Angler belt. It's not the greatest. There's other belts. Again, I think the Flatlander belt, I'd recommend I hope I'm saying that right. The Flatlander belt. I recommend that for like everything. Also, I bring like a knife and scissors. That's always in my bag. Just side note. The belt is definitely something. I really like something that's stiff, that's gonna hold its shape. But I will always bring a belt. I will always have pliers on hand, and they are always tethered to my belt. So these are like my main rig pliers. I'll always have those. I will usually have some kind of a clip with my boga if I decide to bring it. So again, if I'm albie fishing or going for something smaller, I don't need my boga. This thing's heavy. This is the 60-pound boga. I do not bring this all the time, and it sucks when I have to bring it because it's heavy, but that will get clipped right onto my belt. And then this is my favorite surf casting item that I own, and that is this mini bag. It's a smaller, this is a Surf Right, also by Supreme, mini bag that fits on my belt. I think that this setup is awesome. I use this for everything. No matter what I'm going for, I have this belt on, but this bag or this pouch is always on me. Sometimes I do not bring the big bag, right? Albies, very rarely do I bring the big bag. But this mini bag has mini storage in it as well. And then the same thing like will get set up on here. So it's, you know, a thing of leader material, extra thing of leader material. This one's set up for Albies right now, but it's a bunch of different Albie plugs and lures, all for Albies, all specific, a bunch of epoxy jigs, right? I bring all these, a bunch of, again, lower in the water column jigs, bucktails. I've got my surface stuff. So my, these are the Albie snacks. So again, surface, subsurface, and then heavy jigs to be able to get down on the bottom. So all 3 categories, all 3 water columns are covered in this pouch. From there, extra leader material goes into here, extra file, anything that like, this is like my quick grab and go. Like when this thing's strapped on, it's like I can just quickly grab and go. A lot of times what I will do is let's say that I go to a spot and I figure them out. I figure the fish out. Now I know they're hitting top water, right? I know that they are hitting the pencil popper real heavily. I'll take out, you know, my main running lures out of my main bag, and I will just fill this pouch. And now I'm just very easily pulling from just this pouch. I don't have to worry about like opening up my bag, you know, having these fall out or dealing with the big bag at all anymore. I've transferred everything into my small bag, and now I'm just dealing with just these 3 compartments. And that's all I'm doing is I'm just picking from here. Darter, you know what I mean? Different color, pencil popper, different sizes. I'm just working out of here now. So like this is almost like my storage that I brought out with me, and now this is like my, you know, quickly swapping in and out. I'll just throw my leaders right in here. So if I break off or if I need to use new leaders, change a leader, everything's right in here. I don't even have to open this bag. The less I have to open this when I'm out there, the better. A lot of times I throw it in the rocks. I'll throw it down, I'll put it down somewhere, and I know that I've got extra lures over there if something were to change, and I'm just using my main run out of this. So this is like, I can't live without this. I use this system all the time. It's like storage and extra spare lures, or the majority of what I'm gonna bring is here, and then my constant opening in and out is right off of my belt. So that, and then I usually have a knife. I lost it this past season, but I usually have a knife right here on this belt. Pliers, boga, you know, everything. This is like, I could go out and fish and be very, very streamlined and have everything I need without having to carry a bunch of extra stuff. So I can move quickly. A couple other things that I do that does change is sometimes I will use a smaller bag. So this is just a single row, right? I have the double row, but sometimes I'll just use this single row if it's lighter. Or a lot of times what I do is I'll strap this onto my girlfriend if she's coming with me, or somebody else. I'll strap this on them and fill even more lures with this. And that way then I've got 2 bags just in case, and then I don't have to run all the way back to the car. But I like this as well. And the reason that I like this is because a lot of times I'll take this right out and I will fill it with other tackle boxes. So like sometimes if I'm going for Albies and Bonito, I'll take all my epoxy jigs, right, and I'll stick this right inside of this single pouch, and now I've got all my extra Albie jigs ready to rock and roll with my belt. And I don't even bring my big bag, I'm just bringing this now. It's got all Albie stuff. It might have some striper stuff in there, you know, something along the lines of that, but now I can just bring 2 tackle boxes and my belt, you know, so I'm switching it up again based off of where I'm going. So again, I'm gonna do an Albie one specifically, like Albie and Bonitos, a Canal one, a Surf one, a Jetty one and rocks. Like I'll do like one that's based off of like the current and like where I'm gonna use darters and things like that. I'm gonna do a couple of these videos for different tackle situations, but this is something that I just wanted to go over and give an overview of like my system and how I'm thinking about things. So I'm gonna show you my main box and what's always in my car, and then I've always got like different variations of these bags in my car so that I can like kind of build my system before I go out based off of the situation, the area, and the conditions that I'm fishing for. Same thing will go with my rods. I might have 5 or 6 different rods in my car at one time, and then I'm just switching out, you know, what rod I'm using with what reel. Because the reality of it is if I had if I had my way, I would bring 1 rod, 1 reel, 1 bag, and 1 belt, and that's it. That would be ideal for me. I don't need to bring 4 bags with 3 extra tackle boxes with 4 rods. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. You know, like sometimes a very good fisherman I know once told me, pick something and stick with it. So like if you're gonna jig, right? Like if you're gonna jig the canal, jig. Like bring a jigging setup and bring some jigs, and that's all you gotta bring. Like if I'm gonna eel, right? If I'm gonna be eeling the canal, or I'm just going with eels, I'm not taking all this stuff. I might bring a few things on my belt and fill that small pouch up with a few extra things. But if I'm eeling, like I bought eels and I've got live eels on me, I'm eeling that night. Really, no matter what happens, I'm sticking to it. I'm staying committed. I do bring a little bit of extra stuff almost every time I go out, but for the most part, I do try to stay committed. So like if I pick a rod, that's you know what I'm bringing. I don't want to have to go back and get another one. That's usually what I'm committed to. Okay, so this is my box that I use in my car. So this is always in my car. It's just a DeWalt box. I have a couple more bins that I leave at home, but for the most part, this is like what's always in my car and like what I'm always pulling from. I'm just constantly, you know, if I need anything, a heavy wind day, you know what I mean? It's very windy out. I'll grab a bunch of the bottlenecks, right? And then I'll grab them in different colors, you know, for what I feel like fishing that day. If I know that I want to fish the needlefish, you know what I mean? I'll grab just needlefish, a bunch of different jigs, a whole bunch of different SP minnows, right? I'll always be able to like pull what I need from this bin and then transfer it over into my bag, you know what I mean? And then that will be in conjunction with my belts. So I'll have basically everything. See this stupid thing. This stupid thing. And then I can sometimes just grab this, but for the most part, it's like always going in and out of my belt. So I'll just grab my belt. I'll be able to throw a bunch of different lures from here into here, throw my belt on, and then I'll have my bag all rigged up, ready to go, and be able to fill this. And then this is basically all I'm taking is just this and this. At that point, I can just grab my belt and my bag and my rod and be off. And then this is what I'm always like mixing and matching and constantly filling and pulling back in. So that is my system. So also one of the reasons that this has taken me so long to film is because I am building fishing lures. And I think that those would be pretty cool to make some videos on as well. Starting to develop a new lure that I think is pretty sweet. It's not really new, but it's new to what I've seen. That's been pretty cool, and I kind of want to start doing some of those videos. I filmed like 5 days straight, and none of it is really usable because we're in like prototyping, so like it's all like the same thing. Build a lure, it's close, but it's not what we're looking for. Rebuild it. So like that's been taking some time, but I definitely want to like make some videos on how I'm building lures, which is pretty cool, and I just think that they're a pretty cool design that I don't really see too often. So stay tuned for that. That's also coming soon. So that's pretty much it. That is my process of how I go about building up my specific system for that day. I always have a main setup, and then I'm building systems off of that, right? So it's like my process of how I go about it, and then I change my setups for each one. If you guys have any questions on anything that I went over, I know I kind of threw a ton at you right away, and I know that there's going to be more questions of what I'm using specifically. I will definitely make those videos, but I just wanted to give a broad overview of how I think and how I go about my procedures before I go out, right? So if you guys have questions on anything at all, on any of these systems that I built today, right, or that I went over, don't hesitate to comment down below, right? If you have a system that you like, right, let me know. But this works for me, right? This is how I like to do it. I've done it for years now, and it's worked pretty well for me. I always have my bag, my belt, and my rod. If you guys like this content, hit that subscribe button, comment, like, hit the bell notification. It will let you know every time I produce another one of these videos. I'm gonna be coming out with a few more specifically in relation to what's going into my tackle and my bags. So I hope that helps you guys out. And like always, I hope these videos helped in any way. If they did, let me know down below. Thanks so much. We'll catch you guys in the next one.